What is government? And can it be run like a business? I mean, you'd think we'd all know this. We've all lived with government our whole lives. But first, okay, so first, let's start off with what is a civil society? You know, the thing we all live in. Okay, society, it just started off as an agreement made by people for their mutual protection against, I don't know, lions and shit. And so that they could live together without killing each other on a regular basis. So, started small, like a village. No lions, no killing each other on a regular basis. But when societies get to a certain size, the people in them realize two things. That their individual lives would be better if there's some kind of the infrastructure to organize, to do all the jobs needed to hold their society together, besides just defense against lions. And they want somebody else to do those jobs. Like I, for one, do not have time to do most of the things it takes to run a community. And if I did have time, I wouldn't have the skill. Like, I have a pretty good idea how to put out a fire. You know, water. But I'd rather have professionals do that. And I'm more than happy to put a little money in the general pot to pay some professionals to do shit like that for me and everybody else. So by pooling our money, big things like fire departments and roads and municipal water systems all become affordable. So we need some kind of something. Something to deal with running and organizing all the stuff we need done, but don't know how to do. And we need to pay people to do that running and organizing. Another word for doing all of that is government. Oh, and taxes is how we pay people to do that stuff. That's it. That's government. Whether it's a workers' council or a board of supervisors or Congress or a House of Parliament, government is a bunch of people we hire to do the things we cannot do individually, but we need done to keep our society together. So we don't kill each other. This isn't rocket science. Because if SpaceX has taught us anything, it's that any fascistic nutbag can pretend to understand rocket science. But when that same fascistic nutbag pretends to understand government, he ruins people's lives. Now, don't get me wrong. Governments can be fucked up. Hey, I'm a black guy living in the United States. You know, some of my tax dollars go to pay for the racist government that oppresses me. But that is not the fault of the concept of government. It's because government is also the collective will of the people. So if the people are racist or classist or sexist or homophobic, transphobic, xenophobic, or I don't know, just plain stupid, their government will also be racist or classist or sexist or homophobic, transphobic, xenophobic, or just plain stupid. And that is why citizens create lists of rules for the government to follow. In our case, the list is called the Constitution. People who failed civics class and libertarians think the U.S. Constitution is just a rule to control the people. But no. The Constitution is rules to control the people that we, the people, hire to administer our government. Rules they're supposed to follow when dealing with us, their employer. That's why our Constitution starts with we, the people. And in exchange for the government following these rules, we try our best to not overthrow them. It's like a contract between us and them. A social contract. Now, this is a term you probably heard in school. And if you didn't, your history teacher sucked. The contract is basically that in exchange for organizing and administering all how to spend our tax dollars on the stuff we need, we pay them. Or in the case of royalty, we don't behead them. Because, see, they are only in that office or on that throne because we let them be there. It doesn't matter if it's a king or a queen or a dictator or a president who wants to be a dictator. If they break the social contract with the people, then we, the people, can fire them. Sometimes with real fire. I know. I know you might be thinking, whoa, hold on there, Mr. Molotov Cocktail. They have soldiers. Yeah. You know who else had soldiers? The King of France. Yep. the Russian royal family, the gangsters who used to run Cuba, the thugs who used to run Romania. Having an army didn't make a damn bit of difference because the soldiers are also part of the people. Hell, Roman emperors were really powerful, but more than a handful of them got stabbed in the neck by the very soldiers assigned to protect them. In a democracy, problem comes often when they, our elected employees, or we, the people, forget the whole contract thing. When they start thinking they're actually in charge, and we forget that we're actually in charge. Or when some of us forget what exactly the job is we're hiring them to do in the first place. It's like that last presidential election, when we were looking to hire a competent administrator to be our top employee, and a little over a third of the people who could vote decided instead to hire a rapist who cosplays as a stable genius, a repeatedly bankrupt businessman who promised to tear up the social contract our parents and grandparents and great-grandparents fought so hard to get. You know, the contract that includes government programs like Medicaid and free public schools and farm subsidies and Social Security and jobs for veterans and welfare checks and unemployment benefits from the government that so many in the red states depend on. Why did they forget all of that? Because a con man in a red tie convinced them that no social contract should count if it benefits anyone who doesn't look like them. These voters forgot what government is and what government is not. Because, and this is important, they voted for a boss who promised to run the government like a business. But government is not a business. It just doesn't work that way. Okay, back in the 1980s, when corporate spokesperson and famed film sidekick to a chimpanzee, Ronald Reagan, became president, he worked hard to convince Americans of a few wacky things. One, that welfare queens, the working poor, the homeless, non-whites, and the gays, and the commies were all undermining the greatness of America. Two, that the New Deal had been a deal with the commies. And three, that government should be run like a business. And anyone who said otherwise was a commie. Now, surely men who put money first would run our country efficiently. But here's the thing. In a real business mindset, delivering a financial profit is not the bottom line. It's the only line. On the other hand, government of, by, and for the people is not structured like a for-profit business. It's, you know what it's like? A nonprofit organization where the providing of services is the only function. And this is the fundamental difference between government and business. And given our current corporate administration in Washington, it's important we understand that not only are the profit motive and democratic government incompatible, they're also antithetical. Okay, first of all, let's look at this idea of efficiency. When it comes to efficiency, business is not about making the best product or serving the customer. The goal of any business is to create and sell the cheapest possible product for the highest possible price so they can return the greatest possible profit to their investors. They don't give a damn about the customer. It's all about profit. That's it. That's corporate efficiency. We've got quintessentially evil business maniac Felonious Musk calling federal employees and asking them if they were efficient last week. What were they doing to earn their government paycheck? I mean, what were they doing? Keeping the wheels of our government turning, you crackhead. While Spray Tan Nero was busy signing stacks of unconstitutional executive orders, and the Tesla Fuhrer was trying to grift more government contracts for himself, actual government workers were doing the actual government work of actual government. And to those who say a worker on the public payroll should be fired if they cannot say what impactful work they did last week, you know what I say? Firefighters. If firefighters haven't fought any fires in the last week. Do we want to get rid of them? What about workers in sewage treatment plants? I mean, there's no shit flooding the streets last week. Should we fire them all? How about Veterans Administration workers? You never hear about anything impactful coming out of the VA. And who are these publicly paid weather wizards predicting tornadoes? I mean, who needs that? The people who live in tornado zones need that. Our government is full of people who are monitoring situations, preventing problems, issuing disability checks, preparing for disasters, doing all the things we need done. And the only break on their efficiency is if we haven't given them the funding they need to provide us with the services we asked for. The reason Trump and Musk and Jeff Bezos and Peter Thiel and Mark Andreessen and Mark Zuckerberg and all the other socially inept money suckers don't understand the purpose of governmental services is because those services deal with regular people issues. The rich simply do not understand anything that doesn't make them richer. Oh, that's another reason we don't want government run like a business. You see, the more money a person puts into a business, the more control the person has over that business. But in a democratic society, even the richest citizen only gets one vote. And man, do they hate that. Another thing they hate, oversight. Without oversight, businessmen will always degrade the quality of their product if it means they can achieve greater profit and if they think they can get away with it. And I don't want my government degraded so some rich asshole can get another yacht. Remember, if a business can make more money selling dangerous crap, they will sell dangerous crap. I mean, take, for example, the Cybertruck. A terribly ugly, terribly dangerous vehicle on every level. But it sells. Well, it used to sell. I mean, before it was rebranded as a stainless steel Nazi penis enhancement. You think Tesla would have had all of these mandatory recalls if it wasn't for government regulations? And the drug-addled egocist who came up with this rusty, apocalyptic incel mobile wants to use his same profit over quality philosophy to make our government efficient. Hell, a meth salesman can degrade his product, turn a better profit, and have a more efficient business. But I don't want my government run by drug dealers just because they know how to turn a quick buck. Once profit is introduced as a motivator in government, profit becomes the only motivator. There was a time when the armed forces were a place where a young man or a woman could learn a skill besides weapon specialists. Mechanics, cooks, computer specialists, truck drivers, so many more. All jobs that had a life after service, accompanied by a wealth of benefits from a grateful nation. But to a profit-driven business philosophy, this made no sense. No one was getting rich providing the soldiers with all this priceless training. It's like socialism! So instead, we have private corporations like Halliburton and KBR and Khaki doing all of the driving and the cooking and the computering. It's more expensive. And hundreds of thousands of vets come home with less training and fewer benefits. But the businesses are making a profit. Did you know that when Americans receive tax refunds, those checks are processed and mailed to them by a private contractor at a greater cost than if the government did it? Which means that any refund you get will be slightly lessened to profit the stockholders. Free public schools are being replaced with charter schools, which every study shows don't make our kids any smarter, but are always making somebody richer. See, that's how businessmen run government. But think about it. If you wanted to hire a shoemaker, you'd find somebody who actually studied how to make shoes. Right? If you wanted to hire a salesperson, you'd find someone who had a history of selling stuff, right? But when Americans want to hire lawmakers to oversee the service organization that is our government, who are we told to hire? Business people. Oh yeah, no, not the people whose training had prepared them to write and interpret, laws, or who have any experience running a service organization. No. We're told to hire business people who only think about two things: how to make a profit and how to get around any regulations that benefit the people but stop businesses from making an even greater profit. Putting a business person in a position of running government makes as little sense as putting the director of a nonprofit in charge of a for-profit corporation. I mean, the skills they've developed, they were using a philosophy that is totally wrong for the new position. So, to sum up, let business have all the profit at any cost, image over substance, greed-sucking, suit-wearing backstabbery at once. Tightly regulated, of course. While we demand that government, our government, be what we, the people, need. A vehicle to provide the greatest good for the greatest number. To comfort the needy. To protect the helpless. To encourage the brave. To ensure domestic tranquility. Provide for the common defense. Promote the general welfare. And secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Because that's what government is.